Maya Chen stared at her quantum physics textbook, but the equations seemed to rearrange themselves on the page. Not literally, of course, that would be impossible. Or would it? She blinked hard and refocused. The formulas looked normal again, neat rows of symbols describing the behavior of subatomic particles. At 19, Maya was already in her final year at MIT, having skipped 3 grades and earned dual degrees in theoretical physics and computer science. Her professors called her brilliant. Her classmates called her intimidating. Maya just called herself curious. What they didn't know was that she wasn't just reading about quantum mechanics, she was seeing it. When she looked at certain equations, especially those dealing with particle entanglement and dimensional theory, she could visualize the mathematical relationships as glowing threads of light in her mind. The connections between variables appeared as intricate webs that pulsed with meaning she couldn't quite explain. Dr. Harrison, her quantum mechanics professor, handed back the midterm exams with his usual stern expression. "Miss Chen, please see me after class." Maya's stomach dropped. Had she made an error? She never made errors. As the other students filed out, chattering about their grades, Maya approached the professor's desk. "Your exam was unusual," Dr. Harrison said, adjusting his glasses. "You solved the dimensional probability matrix in a way I've never seen before. The math is correct, but the approach—" He paused, studying her face. "How did you develop this methodology?" Maya shifted uncomfortably. How could she explain that she'd seen the solution floating in her mind like a 3-dimensional puzzle that simply needed to be rotated into the correct position? "I just tried a different angle, Professor. Sometimes I visualize the problems differently." "Visualize how exactly?" "I imagine the quantum states as interconnected patterns. The entanglement shows up as, well, like threads connecting different points in space." Maya realized how strange this sounded as she spoke. Dr. Harrison leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "I see. Well, your methodology is sound, even if unconventional. Keep up the excellent work." 3 days later, Maya noticed the man in the blue suit. He was sitting in the campus coffee shop when she arrived for her morning study session. Nothing unusual about that. Lots of people use the cafe. But when she went to the library that afternoon, he was there too, reading a newspaper at a corner table. And when she walked to her evening seminar, she spotted him again, standing near the physics building entrance, apparently talking on his phone. Maya wasn't paranoid by nature, but she had an exceptional memory for faces and patterns. The man was following her. Over the next week, she confirmed her suspicions. Blue Suit was joined by others. A woman with red hair who pretended to be a graduate student. An older man who sat in on her advanced mathematics lecture despite clearly not being enrolled. They were professional about it, never making direct contact, but Maya's pattern recognition abilities made their surveillance obvious. The breakthrough came during her independent research project on exotic matter calculations. Maya was working alone in the physics lab late one evening, running simulations on the quantum computer, when something extraordinary happened. She was inputting variables for a theoretical equation involving negative energy density when the computer screen began displaying results she hadn't programmed. Streams of data flowed across the monitor, complex calculations that seemed to be solving themselves. Maya watched in fascination as the computer worked through problems she hadn't even posed yet. Then the data suddenly stopped, replaced by a single line of text that made her blood run cold. "Dimensional breach probability, 23.7% and increasing." Maya stared at the screen. She hadn't programmed the computer to calculate dimensional breach probability. She didn't even know what that meant. But somehow, looking at the numbers, she understood that this was important. Catastrophically important. She tried to access the data again, but the computer had returned to normal operation. The mysterious calculations were gone, leaving no trace in the system logs. Maya sat back in her chair, mind racing. What had just happened? And more importantly, how had the computer known to run calculations she hadn't requested? The next morning, Maya found Agent Sarah Martinez waiting outside her dormitory. "Miss Chen, I'm with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'd like to speak with you about your research." Maya's first instinct was to run, but Agent Martinez's calm demeanor suggested this wasn't an arrest. "What about my research?" "Your recent work on exotic matter theory has attracted some attention. We'd like to offer you an opportunity to contribute to a special project." "What kind of project?" Martinez glanced around the busy campus quad, students hurrying between classes with backpacks and coffee cups. "The kind that requires a security clearance. Are you familiar with the concept of parallel dimensions, Miss Chen?" Maya felt that strange visual sensation again. Threads of light connecting distant points, patterns emerging from chaos. "Theoretically, yes, but they're just mathematical constructs. They don't actually—" "What if I told you they do exist? And what if I told you that someone or something has been trying to contact our dimension from the other side?" The world seemed to tilt slightly. Maya grabbed the back of a nearby bench for support. "That's impossible. 6 months ago, we intercepted unusual quantum signatures from a research facility in Nevada. The signatures match theoretical predictions for interdimensional communication attempts. We've been monitoring universities across the country, looking for anyone whose research might help us understand what we're dealing with." Martinez pulled out a tablet and showed Maya a series of equations. They were similar to the ones that had appeared on her computer screen the night before. Maya's enhanced pattern recognition immediately spotted the connections. These were the same dimensional breach calculations, but more complete. "How did you get these equations?" Maya asked. "They appeared on quantum computers at 3 different research facilities, always during late-night sessions when only one researcher was present. In each case, the researcher reported seeing the calculations solve themselves. You're the 4th person this has happened to, Miss Chen. The difference is, you're the first one who seems to understand what the numbers mean." Maya studied the equations more closely. The mathematical relationships formed patterns in her mind, 3-dimensional structures that pulsed with significance. She could see how the variables connected, how the dimensional barriers might theoretically be weakened or bypassed entirely. "These calculations," she said slowly, "they're not random. Someone is trying to teach us something. The progression, the way the complexity builds, it's like a lesson plan." Agent Martinez nodded. "That's exactly what our team suspected. The question is, who's doing the teaching, and why?" Maya looked up from the tablet, her mind already racing ahead to the implications. If interdimensional contact was real, if someone from a parallel Earth was trying to communicate, then everything she thought she knew about physics needed to be reconsidered. "What do you need me to do?" "Help us figure out how to answer back," Martinez said, "because according to our analysis, whoever is trying to contact us is running out of time. The quantum signatures are getting weaker. If we don't establish communication soon, we might lose this opportunity forever." Maya thought about the mysterious calculations that had appeared on her computer, about her strange ability to visualize quantum relationships, about the feeling that she was somehow meant to understand these patterns that baffled other researchers. "When do we start?" Agent Martinez smiled. "How about right now? There's a car waiting to take us to a very special facility. I think you're going to find our quantum laboratory quite fascinating, Miss Chen, especially when you see what's been happening in our isolation chamber." As they walked toward a black sedan parked at the edge of campus, Maya felt the weight of reality shifting around her. Her life as a normal college student was over. Whatever came next would challenge everything she thought she knew about the universe. She just hoped she was ready for it. The underground facility stretched far deeper than Maya had expected. Agent Martinez led her through multiple security checkpoints. each requiring different combinations of keycards, biometric scans, and codes. The elevator descended for what felt like minutes before finally stopping at sub-level 7. "Welcome to Project Looking Glass," Martinez said as the elevator doors opened to reveal a pristine white corridor lined with laboratories. "This facility officially doesn't exist." Dr. Elizabeth Warren, the project director, was waiting for them in the main lab. She was a stern woman in her 50s with graying hair and intense green eyes that seemed to take in every detail. "Miss Chen, I've read your academic file. Impressive work for someone your age. Agent Martinez tells me you've been experiencing some unusual interactions with quantum computers." Maya nodded, still trying to process the sophisticated equipment surrounding her. The lab contained quantum computers more advanced than anything she'd seen at MIT, along with devices she couldn't identify. "The calculations just appeared. I didn't program them." "They didn't appear randomly," Dr. Warren said, leading them toward a massive circular chamber in the center of the lab. "Show her the recordings, Martinez." Agent Martinez activated a wall display showing security footage from Maya's university lab. Maya watched herself working at the computer, but the timestamp showed something impossible. The mysterious calculations had begun appearing 30 seconds before she'd even entered the room. "The quantum signature starts manifesting before you arrive," Dr. Warren explained. "It's as if the system is responding to your presence from a distance. We've observed similar phenomena with the other 3 researchers, but never this strongly." Maya stared at the screen. "That doesn't make sense. Quantum computers don't work that way." "Conventional quantum computers don't, but these manifestations suggest we're dealing with quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers. Somehow your presence triggers a response from whoever is trying to contact us." Dr. Warren led them to the circular chamber, which Maya now realized was an isolation room designed to prevent any external interference with quantum experiments. Through the thick glass, Maya could see a single chair surrounded by an array of sensors and monitoring equipment. "3 days ago, we detected the strongest quantum signature yet," Dr. Warren continued. "The calculations that appeared were far more complex than anything we'd seen before. They seem to be blueprints for some kind of communication device." "A communication device? See for yourself." Dr. Warren handed Maya a tablet displaying the mysterious equations. As Maya studied them, the now familiar sensation began, the patterns emerging in her mind like a 3-dimensional puzzle. But this time was different. The mathematical relationships weren't just showing her how dimensional barriers might be crossed. They were showing her how to build something. "It's a resonance amplifier," Maya said, the understanding flowing through her as she spoke. "These equations describe how to create quantum resonance between parallel dimensional frequencies. But it's not just for communication, it's for synchronization." Dr. Warren and Agent Martinez exchanged glances. "Synchronization of what?" Maya continued studying the patterns, her enhanced visualization abilities revealing layers of meaning within the equations. "Consciousness. Whoever sent these plans wants us to build a device that can synchronize human consciousness across dimensional barriers. They want us to share thoughts and experiences with our parallel selves." "That's impossible," Dr. Warren said. "Is it?" Maya looked up from the tablet. "Quantum entanglement already demonstrates that particles can be connected across vast distances instantaneously. If consciousness has a quantum component, and several theories suggest it does, then theoretically, it could be entangled across dimensions too." Agent Martinez frowned. "But why? Why would our parallel selves want to establish this kind of contact?" Maya's mind was racing ahead, piecing together implications from the patterns she could see. "Because they need our help. The weakening quantum signatures, the urgency in how these calculations are being transmitted, they're running out of time." "Time for what?" "I don't know yet. But these equations suggest their reality is becoming unstable. They need us to build this device not just for communication, but for something much more important. Dr. Warren made a decision. We're going to attempt to construct the device according to these specifications. Miss Chen, I want you to lead the technical team. Your ability to interpret these equations makes you our best chance of success. Over the next week, Maya worked 18-hour days with a team of the world's top quantum physicists and engineers. The device they were building resembled a sophisticated helmet connected to quantum processing units, all contained within the isolation chamber to prevent interference. Maya discovered that her strange visualization abilities were becoming stronger the more she worked with the equations. She could now see quantum states as clearly as physical objects, watching entangled particles dance through probability clouds like fireflies in her mind. The other researchers began relying on her interpretations of quantum behavior that their instruments couldn't detect. Dr. Sarah Kim, a quantum physicist from Stanford, was initially skeptical of Maya's unusual insights, but after Maya correctly predicted the behavior of several quantum systems without running calculations, Dr. Kim became one of her strongest advocates. It's like she can see the quantum realm directly, Dr. Kim told Dr. Warren during one of their progress meetings. She's describing quantum states that our equipment confirms, but that shouldn't be visible to human perception. Maya overheard the conversation and felt a chill. Her abilities were evolving rapidly, almost as if proximity to the dimensional communication attempts was enhancing her natural talents. She wondered if the other three researchers were experiencing similar changes. The breakthrough came on Friday evening. Maya was alone in the lab making final adjustments to the resonance amplifier when she noticed something strange. The quantum signature detector was showing activity, but no calculations were appearing on any screens. Instead, Maya felt a presence in her mind, faint, but unmistakably there. She put on the experimental helmet and activated the device. Suddenly, Maya was no longer alone in her own consciousness. Another presence joined her thoughts, familiar but different. It was like looking into a mirror that reflected not her appearance but her essence. Finally, the other presence said, communicating through shared thoughts rather than words. I wasn't sure you would be able to hear me. Maya realized she was in contact with her parallel self, another Maya from a dimension where history had unfolded differently. Through the connection, she began receiving flashes of images and experiences from the other reality. She saw a world where humanity had developed quantum technology decades earlier, where interdimensional travel was possible, where Earth had made contact with dozens of parallel versions of itself. But she also saw something terrifying. A spreading darkness consuming dimension after dimension, an entropy wave that destroyed the quantum foundations of reality itself. The nullification, her parallel self explained. It started in dimension prime alpha and has been spreading through the parallel matrix. We've lost contact with over 200 Earth variants. Our scientists estimate we have maybe weeks before it reaches our cluster of realities. What causes it? We're not certain, but it appears to be a cascade failure in the quantum substrate that connects all parallel dimensions. Once it begins in one reality, it spreads to adjacent dimensions through quantum entanglement connections. Maya felt a crushing weight of responsibility. Why contact us? What can we do? Your dimension is unique. Our quantum archaeologists discovered that your Earth exists at a nexus point in the dimensional matrix. If we can establish stable quantum anchoring points between our realities, we might be able to create a firewall that stops the nullification from spreading further. Through their shared connection, Maya's parallel self transmitted complex technical specifications, modifications to the communication device that would transform it into a quantum anchor capable of stabilizing dimensional barriers. But there's a cost, her other self warned. The anchoring process requires conscious minds to maintain the quantum connection permanently. Volunteers would need to link their consciousness across dimensions indefinitely. They would exist simultaneously in multiple realities, experiencing all of them at once. Maya understood the implications immediately. Creating the quantum firewall would require people willing to sacrifice their singular existence to become multidimensional anchors. How many anchors would we need? Our calculations suggest at least 12, distributed at quantum nexus points around your Earth. Each anchor point would need to be maintained by someone with natural quantum perception abilities, someone like you. The connection began to weaken as power fluctuations destabilized the experimental device. In her final moments of contact, Maya's parallel self transmitted one more crucial piece of information: coordinates for the primary quantum nexus point, located in a remote area of Antarctica where the dimensional barriers were thinnest. As the connection severed, Maya sat in the isolation chamber, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she'd learned. Humanity faced a choice: sacrifice a few to save countless parallel versions of Earth, or risk total annihilation across all realities. She removed the helmet and immediately began documenting everything she'd experienced. Dr. Warren and the team needed to understand what they were truly dealing with. Maya knew that her life would never be the same. She was no longer just a brilliant student. She had become humanity's liaison to a multidimensional crisis that threatened the existence of infinite versions of Earth. The question now was whether she could convince world leaders to take action based on the testimony of a 19-year-old college student who claimed to speak with her parallel selves. Time was running out across all dimensions. Maya stood before a collection of the world's most powerful people in a secure briefing room beneath the Pentagon. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and intelligence directors listened as she explained the multidimensional threat facing all of humanity. The weight of their stares was almost unbearable, but Maya forced herself to remain calm and methodical. "The nullification has already consumed over 400 parallel dimensions," she said, gesturing to the holographic display showing her calculations. "At current spread rates, it will reach our dimensional cluster within 2 weeks. The President of the United States leaned forward. "Miss Chen, you're asking us to believe that parallel universes exist and that some cosmic force is destroying them systematically. Do you understand how that sounds?" Maya had expected skepticism. "With respect, Mr. President, 3 months ago you would have said the same thing about quantum computers solving equations they weren't programmed for. The evidence is mounting rapidly." Dr. Warren stepped forward with a tablet. "We've now documented quantum signature events at 17 research facilities worldwide. Each incident follows the same pattern: complex calculations appearing spontaneously on quantum computers, always when researchers with specific neural patterns are present." The Russian premier spoke up. "These neural patterns, what exactly are we talking about?" Maya took a breath. This was the hardest part to explain. "People with enhanced quantum perception abilities. We've identified 47 individuals globally who can visualize quantum states directly. These people serve as natural conduits for interdimensional communication. And you're one of these people," the Chinese representative stated. "Yes, and according to the information I've received from parallel realities, these individuals are the only ones capable of maintaining the quantum anchors needed to stop the nullification." The room erupted in murmurs and urgent whispered conversations. Maya waited for them to settle before continuing. "The anchor points must be established at specific locations where dimensional barriers are naturally weak. We've identified 12 sites globally. Each requires a volunteer with quantum perception abilities to maintain a permanent consciousness link across dimensions." "Permanent?" The British Prime Minister's voice carried clear concern. Maya nodded gravely. "The anchors would experience existence simultaneously across multiple realities. They would retain their individuality, but gain awareness of their parallel selves, lives, and experiences. The mental strain would be considerable." Over the past week, Maya had been in contact with 36 of her parallel selves, learning about their different lives and realities. The experience was overwhelming, memories and experiences from dozens of different versions of her life flooding her consciousness simultaneously. She had seen realities where she became a renowned physicist, others where she died young in accidents, some where humanity never developed advanced technology, and countless variations between. The constant multidimensional awareness was exhausting, but it had also given her unprecedented insights into the nature of the nullification. Across every reality she contacted, the pattern was the same. The entropy wave appeared to target the quantum foundations that allowed consciousness to exist across multiple dimensional states. "What guarantees do we have that this plan will work?" asked the Japanese representative. "None," Maya admitted. "But I've been in contact with quantum physicists from over 100 parallel Earths. The mathematics are consistent across all realities. Establishing quantum anchors at these 12 nexus points should create a stable firewall that the nullification cannot penetrate." Dr. Kim stepped up to support Maya's presentation. "We've built and tested scaled-down versions of the anchor technology. The quantum stabilization effects are measurable and reproducible. While we can't fully test the multidimensional aspects without risking the operator's sanity, the theoretical framework is sound." The deliberations continued for hours. Maya found herself answering increasingly technical questions about quantum mechanics, parallel dimensions, and the specific requirements for establishing anchor points. Several world leaders remained skeptical, but the mounting evidence was hard to ignore. Finally, the director of the CIA presented the deciding factor. 3 hours ago, our satellites detected massive quantum disturbances at the coordinates Miss Chen provided for the Antarctic nexus point. Something is definitely happening at these locations. The consensus was reluctant but unanimous. Humanity would attempt to establish the quantum anchors. The next week passed in a blur of preparation and travel. Maya found herself leading a multinational team to Antarctica, where the primary anchor point needed to be established. The other 11 teams were simultaneously traveling to their assigned locations, sites in the Sahara Desert, the Himalayas, the Amazon rainforest, and other remote areas where dimensional barriers were naturally thin. The Antarctic base was hastily constructed around the nexus point coordinates. The quantum anchor device was significantly larger than the prototype Maya had tested. A complex array of quantum processors, consciousness interface equipment, and dimensional stabilizers that required constant monitoring. Maya's team included Dr. Warren, Agent Martinez, Dr. Kim, and 2 other researchers with quantum perception abilities, Dr. James Wright from Oxford and Dr. Lisa Rodriguez from Tokyo University. Together, they would attempt to establish the primary anchor, while the other teams worked to activate their secondary positions. As Maya prepared for the anchoring procedure, she received contact from her parallel selves across multiple dimensions. Through the quantum communication link, she could see the approaching nullification, a wave of absolute entropy that left nothing but void in its wake. "It's accelerating," reported Maya Delta 7, her counterpart from a dimension where humans had developed space travel centuries earlier. "We lost contact with the Echo Cluster 40 minutes ago. The nullification is now only hours away from reaching our reality group." Maya felt the pressure of time crushing down on her. If they failed, not just her Earth, but countless versions would be consumed by the entropy wave. The anchoring process began with Maya entering the consciousness interface pod. As the quantum field activated around her, her awareness suddenly expanded across dozens of dimensions simultaneously. She could perceive her parallel selves working at their own anchor points, feel the quantum threads connecting their realities, and sense the approaching darkness that threatened them all. Establishing the quantum anchor required Maya to consciously bind her consciousness across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. It was like trying to exist as 12 different people at the same time while remaining fundamentally herself. The mental strain was enormous. She felt her sense of individual identity stretching and threatening to fragment entirely. But Maya discovered something unexpected as the process continued. Her parallel selves weren't just separate individuals. They were all aspects of the same fundamental consciousness experiencing different possibilities. As she embraced this multidimensional perspective, the strain lessened, and her quantum perception abilities expanded dramatically. Through her enhanced awareness, Maya realized that the nullification wasn't just a random destructive force. It was the universe's response to an imbalance in the quantum substrate caused by excessive dimensional manipulation by an advanced civilization from Universe Prime Alpha. Their attempts to merge all parallel realities into a single perfect dimension had triggered a cascade failure that spread entropy across the entire multidimensional matrix. "I can see the source," Maya transmitted to her parallel selves through the quantum link. "The nullification originated from attempts to collapse infinite possibilities into one reality. We can stop it, but we need to do more than just create firewalls. We need to restore the quantum balance." Working together across dimensions, Maya and her parallel selves began implementing modifications to the anchor system. Instead of simply creating barriers against the entropy wave, they would use their connected consciousness to actively repair the damaged quantum substrate. The process required unprecedented cooperation between parallel realities. Maya found herself coordinating with versions of herself who had become everything from renowned scientists to street musicians to military leaders, but all sharing the same fundamental drive to protect humanity across all dimensions. As the other 11 anchor points came online around the world, Maya felt the quantum firewall beginning to stabilize. But the real test came when the nullification wave reached their dimensional cluster. Maya watched through her multidimensional awareness as the entropy wave crashed against their quantum defenses. For terrifying moments, it seemed like the anchors might not hold. The wave pressed against their barriers with cosmic force, seeking to consume everything in its path. Then Maya and her parallel selves did something no single consciousness had ever attempted. They synchronized their quantum signatures across all realities simultaneously, creating a unified field of conscious will that actively reconstructed the damaged quantum substrate in the nullification's path. The entropy wave slowed, then stopped, then began to reverse as the quantum foundation of reality reasserted itself. Across hundreds of dimensions, Maya felt her parallel selves cheering as their realities stabilized and the immediate threat passed. But the victory came with profound changes. Maya and the other anchor volunteers were now permanently connected across dimensions. They experienced life as multidimensional beings, aware of their parallel selves' experiences while maintaining their individual identities. Maya could feel the constant presence of her other selves, the physicist, the artist, the teacher, the explorer, all living their lives across the infinite spectrum of possibility. The experience fundamentally changed humanity's understanding of consciousness and reality. Maya returned from Antarctica as more than just a brilliant student. She had become something new, a multidimensional human who could perceive and interact with the quantum foundations of existence itself. In the months that followed, Maya worked with world leaders and scientists to establish the Multidimensional Research Institute, dedicated to studying parallel realities and preventing future quantum catastrophes. She discovered that her enhanced abilities continued to evolve, eventually allowing her to communicate with entirely alien civilizations that existed in dimensions with different physical laws. Maya often reflected on how her journey had begun with simple academic success in quantum physics. Now she found herself serving as humanity's ambassador to infinite realities, helping to guide her species toward a future where they could safely explore the vast multiverse without triggering cosmic disasters. The girl who had once topped every class had become something far more significant, the first multidimensional human, forever changed by her willingness to sacrifice singular existence to save countless parallel worlds. And in quiet moments, when Maya synchronized her consciousness across all realities simultaneously, she could sense other species throughout the multiverse taking notice of humanity's achievement. Earth had proven itself capable of extraordinary sacrifice and cooperation when faced with cosmic-scale threats. For the first time in the history of the multiverse, a young civilization had not only survived contact with higher-dimensional forces, but had actively worked to heal damage to the fundamental structure of reality itself. Humanity had truly earned its place among the stars, all infinite versions of them,